Hey everyone, and welcome back to another explainer. Today we're going to reverse engineer something seriously cool. We are taking a highly detailed 25-page Amigurumi pattern and breaking it all down into a super simple, logical build. Honestly, if you've ever stared at an advanced crochet pattern and just felt totally overwhelmed by the sheer volume of steps, you are absolutely in the right place. Alright, let's just jump right in. Meet Yumi the Panda. Now, you might be thinking she requires some sort of crafting magic to create, right? But as we're going to see today, this complex-looking masterpiece is actually just a sequence of really clever, highly intentional structural techniques that we're about to uncover step by step. And you know, while we're going to get pretty technical with ratios, tensions, and stitch counts in a minute, the source material actually reminds us of its core ethos right from the start: love in every stitch. So yes, the techniques we're unpacking today are wonderfully precise, but the process itself, it's really meant to be a joyful act of creation. It's all about bringing character to life with care.
So here is our game plan to eliminate any of that overwhelm. First, we'll meet Yumi and check out our materials. Second, we're crocheting the panda paws. Third, building the head and body. Fourth, shaping that super cute face. Fifth, crafting the perfect details. And finally, the final assembly and her bow. Let's get to it.
Section 1. Meet Yumi and Materials. The ingredients for life.
Building a structurally sound character starts with the right foundation. And I've got to say, I honestly didn't realize there was such strict math involved in crochet. But the pattern drops a brilliant rule right away. The plush yarn used for the body has to be exactly twice as thick as the semi-cotton yarn used for the facial features. And to match this 2-to-1 ratio, you need a strict 1.5mm hook size difference. So say you use a 4mm hook for the body, you absolutely must use a 2.5mm for the eyes. It's this specific math that ensures those delicate facial features sit perfectly flat against the bulky body, without looking distorted or out of proportion.
All right, Section 2. Crocheting the panda paws. The clever construction.
We aren't just making random arms and legs here, we're actually executing a massive time-saving hack. The precise sequence starts out pretty standard with a magic ring and increases, then moves to decreases for shaping. But step 3? That's where the brilliant engineering comes in. The pattern specifically calls for an incomplete round, so stopping at about 10 to 11 single crochets. Why? Because stopping short aligns your decreases perfectly on one side, which allows the paw to be folded completely flat in half and crocheted closed right across the top.
The result of that technique is just genius. Both the upper and bottom paws end up only being stuffed at the bulbous bottom part. By leaving that top section completely flat and sealing it shut with a crochet hook, you unlock the absolute secret to attaching them seamlessly later on. You can literally crochet the limbs directly into the rounds of the body as you go. That saves you the ultimate headache of having to pin and sew them on with a needle at the very end. A total game changer.
Moving right along to Section 3. Building head and body. The core construction. Now, instead of making separate spheres that need to be stitched together, Yumi's head and body are actually crocheted as one continuous piece. But the crucial point here is how we handle the shaping. During the belly increase section, the source material emphasizes that shifting your stitch markers is an absolute necessity. See, because Amigurumi is worked in a continuous spiral, the beginning of your round naturally drifts over time. If you don't manually shift that marker to stay perfectly centered on the side bend, the decreases for the neck won't align underneath those belly increases. Basically, moving that marker is what ensures Yumi maintains her flawless left-to-right symmetry.
Section 4. Shaping Yumi's cute face. The soul is in the details.
Okay, we're moving out of the basic building phase and into the really transformative magic of sculpting the expression. To get that distinct, cute panda profile, the pattern outlines a highly specific muzzle tightening process. It breaks down into 4 exact steps straight from the instructions. First, you mark 4 points, 2 down at the bottom near the neck and 2 up top between rounds 11 and 12. Next, you insert a long needle from a lower point up to an upper point. Then you cross over to the other upper point and return right back down to the bottom. Finally, you pull it tight, tie it off, and hide the ends deep inside the head. But here is the real kicker for this tightening path. The pattern explicitly mandates that you use a strong synthetic thread, not your standard yarn. When you tighten those strings, you're physically compressing the fiber filling to create Yumi's adorable convex muzzle shape. If you try using standard plush or cotton yarn for that, it is highly likely to just snap right in half under the tension. So it's a small material detail, but it literally dictates the entire structural integrity of the face.
Section 5. Crafting the perfect details. Expressive features.
So the muzzle tensioning gave us our dimensional canvas, but these intricate facial features are where the character truly comes alive. Those striking, complex amigurumi eyes, they're actually just a super clever series of logical layers. You start with a simple black semi-cotton base, then, for that pop of color, the pattern instructs us to work a blue chain stitch directly underneath the white single crochets. Finally, you just take the long tail of white thread that's left over and embroider those little white glare marks. It takes a really complicated facial feature and breaks it down into totally manageable steps.
And then there's the smile. If you've ever accidentally given a homemade toy a crooked, kind of creepy smirk, you know that getting a symmetrical, curved mouth is notoriously tricky. Well, the Soars uses a fantastic method to solve this. You map out the smile's curve using colored guide pins first. Once your path is pinned, you stretch black embroidery floss under those pins, tensioning it perfectly along the curve. Finally, you secure that tension line at the designated bottom points with tiny locking anchor stitches. It completely removes the guesswork and guarantees a perfect expression every single time.
And we've made it to Section 6, Final Assembly and Bow, bringing it together.
This is the incredibly satisfying part where all our carefully constructed components unite. But before the final reveal, Yumi needs her signature petal pink bow. The construction here is elegantly simple, but it's highly effective for getting a plush look without adding a bunch of bulk. You start with a foundation chain of 30, work 4 rows of half-double crochets to create a neat rectangular panel, and then the magic happens with a pinch and fold method. You just pinch the sides together in the center, and using a long remaining yarn end, you tightly wrap the thread around that central point multiple times to cinch it and define the perfect bow shape. And here is how all of that builds into the fully assembled Yumi the Panda. I mean, the final result is just incredible. By applying the pattern's brilliant mathematical ratios for hook and yarn sizes, executing those clever flat-fold limb attachments to bypass the tedious sewing, and utilizing high-tension synthetic thread for precise facial sculpting, we've successfully transformed a simple pile of plush yarn into a true amigurumi masterpiece.
You now have the structural blueprint. But more importantly, you understand the underlying techniques that make advanced amigurumi work so seamlessly. So, looking at these incredibly versatile tools, my question to you is this. You have the knowledge under the hood now. Who are you going to bring to life next? Thanks so much.